Morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you dwell in the realm. It's Robert Phoenix, and we're back for another edition of the Astro Weather. And we're just soaking in all the wonderful water coming off that lake. I think this is in Arkansas somewhere. What's it? Lake Sunrise over Lake Maumelle. Sunrise over Lake Maumelle. So there you go. It's in Arkansas. Speaking of Arkansas, how about that? The Hogs beat the Duke Blue Devils last night in a major college basketball game. And got to say, I always love it when Duke loses. I know one of my favorite families, the New Braunfels, big Dukies. But, and Axel, I'm sorry. Axel, the history kid, I'm sorry. The Hogs prevailed. Anyway, how is everybody this morning? Welcome to another edition of Astro Weather. Running a bit behind schedule. A bit behind schedule today. Are people acting crazier and weirder than normal? Yeah. I just, I scan the media and sports landscape. And I scan my Twitter feed, and it just feels like the insanity is really getting dialed up. And people are this is a bit of a digression, just slightly. But on the Golden State Warriors, they have Draymond Green and they have Klay Thompson, and these guys have been really, really good players for them for a long time. But Draymond's always been a loose cannon, but now they're just off the res, right? They're just completely off the res in terms of their behavior. And I've just been noticing more and more. And I even had an off the res moment myself. I got to tell you about it. And then we get into the weather. One of the most frustrating experiences. And I got to say, it's a first world problem, so I'm just going to cop to it. But fucking Home Depot, for every 10 times you go there, you might have one relatively positive experience. And it's usually in the garden section, by the way. Other than that, forget it. Forget it. So I was trying to buy a door on Saturday, and I went to the door section. I was trying to get somebody to help me and do some stuff. And there's nobody there. And then this guy comes over. You know how they have the little kind of areas you sit down in, and they help you, or they think they help you. They sit there. I don't know what the fuck they do. So the guy sits down and he's on the phone talking to me. I said, "Hey, can I get somebody to help me with this door back here?" And he said, "Yeah, let me call. Let me see if we can get somebody up here." Oh, he'll be in 10 minutes. He'll check in 10 minutes. This is after wandering around for a while to try to even find somebody. Right. So I go get some lights, 10 minutes go, boom, I come back and they're not there. Right. It's like, okay. So went up to the counter. "Did you find everything okay?" I love that comment. "Did you find everything okay?" I'm like, "No, I didn't find everything fucking okay." Okay. I stopped short of the fuck. Anyway, I kind of had a bit of a almost unhinged, because it's been something that's been building. We're moving into this house. You got to buy shit and fix things, and in most cases, it's like it's a graveyard, absolute graveyard. Anyway, let's get into the Astro Weather. Thanks for being here. Henry Kissinger died. How about that? Heinz Kissinger. Of course, that was his name in the Kay Griggs interview. 100 years old. And I always felt like when Henry Kissinger passed away, it would be deeply symbolic. And things would either accelerate. And Henry Kissinger's a weird guy. There's always the talk of the adrenochrome and all the other stuff which maybe helped him achieve his lengthy status in this world. But it always felt like that there would be something momentous about the death of Kissinger, that things would either slam into action or they would perhaps not go in a particular direction. Like maybe that there was some kind of temporal marker with Kissinger that certain things had to be done by the time he moved on to the next world. But he was a very unusual man, to say the least, and had his fingerprints on policy in this country and the world ever since the 1960s, when he and Nixon began to team up, and he was his Secretary of State. And it's through Kissinger that we have our relationship with China the way it is today, because he was the one that was pushing for that with Nixon. And it's through Kissinger that we have the petrodollar. And it's we'll get in more of this over on 15 minutes, but it feels like that's really tied to his legacy. And now that he's gone, there's a really good chance that that part of his legacy may be on its way out as well. So I'll be on Clyde Lewis tonight, coast to coast. I'll be on Clyde Lewis's show, Ground Zero, tonight. If you're on the East Coast, it'll be a little late for you. It's at 12 midnight. If you're on the West Coast, it'll be 10 o'clock at night. And here in Central, it'll be 11. And we'll be talking about some of the more strange and esoteric connections with Henry Kissinger. So that'll be tonight at 11 on Central Time. And then today at 12 noon, I'll be with the folks from Alpha Vedic, which I'm really looking forward to doing. And we'll be talking about astrology and a bunch of other stuff. So kind of an interesting media day on this end. And if I get links to the Alpha Vedic stream, I'll put them on Twitter. All right, so let's get into the weather. Thanks for allowing me to kind of get my bearings here. How is everybody? How are you? How really, how are you? That's what I want to know. How are you? Sometimes you ask people that question, and especially in like a retail setting, and they can be quite surprised, like that somebody actually, queries about how they're doing. It's a nice little icebreaker sometimes. How are you? Here we go. Let's talk about the Cancer moon. The Cancer moon is in a square today with Chiron and Venus. Ooh. So what do we look to when we see this T square? Don't take things personally. Do not take things personally. This is a good test for that today. Moon square Venus, moon square Chiron. Will your feelings get hurt? Can you rebound from them quickly? Moon sextile Uranus. Moon trine Neptune, right? So today, this is like a really good test configuration today. Can you pass the test? Can you pass the test by not taking things personally, rerouting your emotional circuitry, and then allowing it to flow in a new direction? Boy, isn't that the map right there? Yeah. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds sometimes, because when you get into the moon in Cancer, it's not just how you feel, right? But it's getting into like your familial wheelhouse. It's getting into your family, your kids. It's like, you don't say that about my mother. Leave my mother out of your mouth. Leave talking about mother out of your mouth, or I'll kick you in the teeth, boy. Let's be able to read. Yeah. So that's where it gets really testy, doesn't it? When it's not just about us, but it's about the people that we care about. Now, this degree of the moon is also conjunct the U.S. sun, right? So today is kind of a big day in the story of the U.S. Henry Kissinger just passed away. I mean, this guy is a major figure in. I just want to make sure my mic is right. Hold on. I had a mic moment. Check your mic moment. Mic check moment. Yep, it's good. Because sometimes I get into a bit of a whisper mode and I need to make sure that my mic is being picked up, right? So yeah, you're going to hear and see and read a lot about Kissinger and Nixon over the next 48 hours because he's an integral part of the American story, for better or worse, and in many cases, probably worse. And it's also interesting. I've been getting into a lot of interviews from Vietnam War vets. So the Vietnam War has been really in my head for the last week or so. And of course, Kissinger plays a huge role in the Vietnam War, and not always an easy one because he's trying to. When you get into the story around like those Paris peace talks and what Nixon and Kissinger were trying to do, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts, and they were up against two very obstinate and very well educated North Vietnamese negotiators who would not budge a fucking inch. And then hammer Kissinger on politics, polemics, et cetera, et cetera. This is all kind of part of this, right? And with this degree of the moon, we're looking at the strained relationships. This is also, again, from a mundane perspective, I think this is close to Elon Musk's son, right? Elon Musk, the Cancer, I believe, at 21 degrees. And what did he do yesterday? He basically told advertisers to go fuck themselves in a New York Times interview. And again, whatever you think of Elon Musk, I think that's the first time we've ever seen anybody who runs either a newspaper or a television station or an internet platform of considerable weight basically tell advertisers that he doesn't need them. Now, I wonder how that's going to go down today after the fact with this Moon Venus square. This is all about advertisement. And you can see this Venus South Node conjunction. He did that yesterday with this Venus South Node conjunction. Libra's advertising, marketing, PR. And he got a little testy there, even though the moon was probably earlier degrees, probably about 9 or 10, right? But still, nonetheless. Anyway, for you, it's a test. Try not to take things personally, reroute your emotions quickly, and then flow into new situations. I mean, I really feel like this is the headline for today. We got more going on still. There's our friends Mars and the Sun in Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. That's a reference for Jim Morrison. Anyway, squaring Saturn. So we're still in that Saturn hammer square where, and again, that's kind of like very Muskian, if you're looking at it from a mundane perspective, advertisers and the people that are gatekeepers for information, right? They're all very Saturnian, and this is a hammer. This is the hammer and Saturn's the nail, hammer and the nail. And that's what's going on. And there's also a lot of overkill too. I mean, this is all very testy. This energy is very testy. And there were some comments that I was responding to yesterday. And I have to admit, they under my skin a little bit, right? And how do you respond to it? Sagittarius, you have to have I wouldn't say be the bigger person, unless you're truly Sagittarian, in a way about, Haystack Calhoun, right? Like Haystack Calhoun, that's a old wrestler reference. Anyway, Sagittarius, it's not about being the bigger person, but it's about having a sense of humor, right? And not letting go of your sense of humor, because Sagittarius can poke fun at anything, right? So that's kind of where we are. We're in this place where Try not to take things personally, especially with your family. Reroute it, process it quickly. And there is a practical application to this. If you're hammering away at a goal and you're doing your very best to smash the weights of inertia, yeah, that can work. That can work. If you are persistent, that can work. So that's not a bad energy, and especially with Sagittarius. Keep your sense of humor about you while you're taking a hammer to your goals, or you're taking a hammer to a position, and not one that you're again taking personally. This is today is really interesting in terms of the energy. We're still in the sextile with Pluto, so persistence does pay off. As my great grandmother once said, a constant drop wears a hole in the rock. Always remember that. And we're still playing around a little bit with this Mars trine to Neptune, which again evokes the potential for creative energy and creative application. Very interesting day. Chiron is still going retrograde and kind of separating now from Venus, right? So by the time Venus rolls around tomorrow, it'll be at 26. So it's really outside that opposition. So again, that vulnerability, that's all part of this T square, really begins to fade tomorrow. It's kind of the last degrees of that. And especially as the moon moves on later in the day, later in the night, gets into deeper Cancerian waters. So which puts it in the Piscean decan. Great night for dreaming, by the way. Great night for dreaming. So all you folks over there in Europe, as you begin to turn out the lights, you're getting a little closer. A little closer. So by the time you go to bed, what is it now? It's 6 hours later. So we've got 4 is 12, 2. So you got another 8 hours there. Oh yeah, you'll be the recipients, the early recipients of this Cancer moon. It will be but it'll be in opposition with Pluto. Intense dreams. Intense dreams. I think tonight's one of those nights where people dream about their loved ones and their family. That's what it feels like. Expect some news on the housing market today. Actually, tomorrow, Friday. Yeah. Expect news on the housing market tomorrow, which will not be positive. Just saying. And it won't make the headlines across every network, but it'll be out there. And it will have to do with mortgages, interest rates. I was just reading an article or skimming through the headlines of an article where millennials are just walking away from the housing market. And it's interesting because I think it was written by a millennial. And, I love all generations. But the millennial who posted it and wrote it basically was like, yeah, we're fucking the boomers because we have to rent from the boomers, or we have to buy from the boomers. The boomers are selling their homes and we're not there to buy them. So they're not going to be there to cash out. It's just weird how that animus exists. And I can understand it in a lot of ways. Okay. So there is your Astro Weather. Don't take things personally, right? Don't let things get under your skin, and redirect quickly and flow into new situations, new opportunities. And if needed, continue to hammer away at your goals with persistence and focus, and keep your sense of humor about you. There you go. All right. So let's talk our true hemp science star of the day. There were a lot of choices today, I gotta say. A lot of choices. Today is Marina Abramovich's birthday. Mark Twain. Today's Mark Twain's birthday. Jonathan Swift. It's interesting that Jonathan Swift wrote about Gulliver's Travels. And travels is a very Sagittarian thing, right? And then he, in that story, he talks about these horse people, right? Called, what are they called? The Yahoos. And it's like, it's really interesting that he's talking about these kind of wild horse people on his island. And Gulliver is about a giant. It's interesting that there's this idea that Gulliver goes to this island and everybody's small. Well, maybe they're just normal, and it's Gulliver that's really the giant. So anyway, Jonathan Swift's birthday is today. Marina Abramovich, Mark Twain. There's a lot of interesting characters, and I didn't want to. Marina Abramovich is interesting, but in a very dark, interesting kind of way, right? Like, not great. So I don't want to promote her. I was taking a Sagittarian moral stance. So today, instead, we have somebody who is as much of a character, but in their own way. So today's True Hemp Science star of the day is none other than, drum roll please, Jackie Stallone. He's a total Sagittarius. She was wild. Jackie Stallone was a wild woman. And she was an astrologer. Like, that was her thing. She wrote columns. She had a lot of stuff. She's Libra rising. And when Jackie Stallone was younger, she was a pretty attractive woman until all the plastic surgery just completely malformed her face. But this is an interesting picture, and I chose this picture for a reason. And it's with her son, Sylvester, and she's got this Cancerian midheaven at 16 degrees, which is really where the moon is, right? We were just talking about the moon at that degree, which is also the degree of the United States and Sirius. And don't think that Jackie Stallone wasn't aware of that. Jackie Stallone knew that her destiny was connected to this country and its binary twin. And that's also with where Sly's up here somewhere, right? Sly's up here somewhere. So, and because he's a Cancer. And of course, she's got two other kids, Frank, and I think a daughter, that she was extremely proud of her son, right? Like, you can see it up here. Like, he, in a lot of ways, was her everything. She was born in Washington, D.C., which I think is quite interesting as well. And, she's accentuating her persona, right? She's accentuating, being a Libra, and in her mind, whatever being so-called glamorous is. And she has all this material, all this Libra material in her 12th house, which obviously she's just dying to get out. Not an easy person to be in relationship with, I can tell you that right now, and didn't waste much time at all between relationships. But she does have this grand trine with Neptune and Leo, of course, the sun and the moon. She's born on a new moon, and she's got that, kind of crazy, wild, anything goes new moon energy, right? And so the sun and the moon are in trine with Chiron in Aries. It's also interesting that somewhere in there, because she did give birth to this guy, right? Aries rules boxers and fighters. It's very interesting. So she had and especially post Chiron return at 50, which for her would have been in 1971. Like, that's really right around, when does Rocky come out? I think Rocky comes out around 74, right? 74. At that time, Stallone is doing, 71, Stallone's doing small films, bit roles. I think he was in like a porn movie I think it was actually called The Italian Stallion. It was like in some cheap little porn movie right around 70, 71. And then he winds up being in a movie called Death Race 2000, and that was around 73. So all of his cinematic fame comes after Jackie Stallone goes through her Chiron return. So she knows a lot more about who she is at that point, and she's ready to ride that wave, right? And for all intents and purposes, she was considered to be a very likable person. Like, she may have been, a bit crazy, but she was very, very likable. And you can see this in her chart. She's got the Libra rising, and she's just dying to get this 12th house information out, right? Whatever it is. And, and also with Saturn there, you could tell anybody that's got Saturn in the 12th house never really feels a part of the world, but she did everything in her power to do that. Now, what's interesting about her is that she came up with this idea for reading a person's rear end that she called an astrology. And you would pay her $100 and she'd read your ass. So, of course, it goes without saying, we have to find out where Uranus is in her chart. And it's in the 5th house. And astrology was a love, right? That's Uranus in the 5th. Uranus rules astrology. And the 5th house is Leo and passion and love. And she's got that Uranus-Pluto trine, which is a bit generational. And then a square to her sun and moon. And I think even though she could be, I wouldn't call Jackie Stallone refined, even with Libra rising. I think with Uranus and astrology, she could be a bit crass, right? And you can see this, and shocking with Uranus. And I think even at times with the moon square Uranus, it's actually sun square Uranus and the moon kind of coming along for the ride, that she could even probably be shocking for Sylvester, right? Like, oh, mom, come on. Hey, mom. Hey, can you just, what's this astrology? I can't do Stallone. I'd have to work on it. And Mercury conjunct Venus in Scorpio. I seem to remember her saying some things that got her in trouble. I forget what they were. But, I would say from a client perspective, if you're in astrology, Mercury Venus conjunctions in Scorpio can be quite good in terms of being able to work with people. 2nd house, so she made her money. Actually, I think she made her money writing astrology columns. And of course, well, did she really have to make her own money? Let's be honest with that. But and then the square with Neptune, that's interesting. Somewhere along the way, Jackie got burned a few times. Jackie got burned or burned a few. It's funny, we know a lot about Jackie Stallone, but we don't know anything about his father, right? Nothing about his father. I think that's where this square is going to come into play in a big way. Very interesting character. And yeah, Jackie Stallone, your True Science star of the day. If you want to get some really good CBD, go to trueamscience.com. And guess what you do? You just type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you will get free product, free goodies, a little goodie bag. It's like a stocking stuffer just for you for the holidays. Just type in 15MINS and spend $100, and you're going to get that. It's worth it. Trust me. It's worth it. You get your order, you get your little goodie bags. Like, wow, this is cool. What's this? What's this? What's this? Let me try it. And it works. The CBD works. If you spend $150 or more, you get free shipping. And guess what? There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. Give our guy Chris a little visitation. Give him a visitation. Stop by his website. Check out the products. If you have any questions, you can always make an appointment to talk to him and ask him about your CBD needs, and he'll work with you. Finally, if you'd like, you can buy me a cup of coffee There's a link in the show text or the text for the show. For everybody that has bought me a cup of coffee, thank you so much. I will have a sip of coffee in your honor. And if you want to get the star of the day for you or somebody you love, go to my website, robertphoenix.com, where you can order one. It's a 20-minute gift and a gift they'll always remember. Just like this, only better. All right. Thanks for being here. Take good care. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Check me out over on we're on Boxcast TV. I think the link should be in the chat. And we're working on building a new website. And hopefully by the end of the year or maybe sooner, we will have a brand new home for 15 Minutes of Flame where it's nice and safe and secure. And there's all kinds of child protection, safety locks in there. It's going to be awesome. All right. Thanks for being here. Now.